Hey everyone, Leo speaking here. Welcome to Visual Med by Leo. And today I'm gonna talk about the gluteal lines, okay? Which are these structures here that are used as a landmark uh, on the hip. Now we have three gluteal lines. We have the posterior gluteal line, anterior gluteal line, and then the inferior gluteal line. And what you notice is that these landmarks are on the external surface of the ilium. This is the lateral aspect of the ilium. And I'm going to start with the anterior gluteal line, which is this one here. And this is, you will notice some features, okay? The first one is that the anterior gluteal line is the longest and the most prominent of the three gluteal lines. You will see that begins here, close to the anterior superior iliac spine and near the iliac crest. And to be more specific, posterior to the ASIS. And you will notice that this line will curves downward and backward towards the greater sciatic notch, which is here. And the anterior gluteal line will mark the anterior boundary of the origin of the gluteus medius muscle. And this is an important area because it will serve as the origin for the tensor fascia latae muscle. Now, here we have the posterior gluteal line. And the posterior gluteal line is the shortest and the less distinct of these three lines. You will notice that it runs downward and forward from the iliac crest near the posterior superior iliac spine. P posterior PSIS. Okay, PSIS. So, and you will notice that will end near the upper part of the greater sciatic notch. Now, the posterior gluteal line will indicate the posterior limit of the gluteus medius, and it will also mark the anterior edge of the origin of the gluteus maximus. And finally, we have here this one is the inferior gluteal line, and this is the least distinct of the three lines. You will notice that runs roughly parallel to the superior margin of the acetabulum, and it extends from near the anterior inferior iliac spine towards the greater sciatic notch. Okay, all the lines will move towards the greater sciatic notch at some point here. And the inferior gluteal line will define the inferior boundary of the gluteus minimus muscle, which originates between the anterior and the inferior gluteal lines. Now, why knowing this is so important for you that is studying clinical anatomy or just anatomy? Well, the gluteal region is a common seat for intramuscular injections. But what will happen is that improper needle placement, especially in the inferior medial quadrant, which I'm going to show you in another video, the quadrants of the gluteus, the inferior medial quadrant can injure the sciatic nerve, which runs deep to the gluteus maximus. So once you have knowledge of the gluteal lines, this will also help you to identify safe injection zones. The upper outer quadrant, or the superlateral to the posterior gluteal line and above the inferior gluteal line, is generally considered the safest area, the safest zone, because this area is actually, there is no relation with the major nerves and blood vessels. But it can also be used, these lines can be also used for surgical approaches and for the understanding of rehabilitation in such conditions, to learn the muscle function and the gait as well. Guys, this is pretty much the gluteal lines. I hope you enjoyed this topic, and yeah, let me know what you would like to hear more or study more in this channel. See you next time.